Hey Catholic Match, the video you're about to see is part of a brand new initiative called Relate, which is the community feature on Catholic Match. If you would like to join this event and events like this live, please check us out at catholicmatch.com/relate or click the link in the description below. Thank you and enjoy the video. So glad to have everyone here. We are thrilled to have an absolutely amazing guest tonight. He is a hallmark in the Catholic community for his wisdom, we'll say. And I remember watching him. Maybe he'll be mad that I'm aging him a little bit. I remember watching him back when I was in junior high and high school with his videos. And so we're really happy to have our guest tonight. He is a guest with a passion for sharing the truth, the beauty, and the challenges of the Catholic faith. He has reached millions from across the world. He's a speaker, author, former theology teacher, so close to my heart, right? A teacher, and he is an absolutely incredible father and husband. You may know him and his wife, Bobby and Jackie Angel from Ascension Presents, post videos all the time on Ascension Presents. He's also author of many books, some which I hope we get to talk about soon. I believe he just published another book. So we're very excited to have him hosted here tonight, hailing all the way from Texas. So please put your virtual hands together for Bobby Angel, ladies and gentlemen. Bobby, how are you doing today?
Good to be with you all.
Good.
Trying to date me back to the junior high. We get, we're blessed, my wife and I, to travel and speak at all different parishes, and the stories are wild because we both, my wife and I, come out of youth ministry, and to now be having these teens we used to work with be married on kid number 2 or 3 or going in grad school, or like I watched your videos, or I saw you at Steubenville when I was 14, and now all of a sudden you've got a beard and you're like, your voice has dropped. It's very beautiful to see like the multiplication. Like that's
right.
Discipleship proper. It should always be creating. It's the generativity, and even in the brave new world of digital media, which brings a whole lot of crosses and trouble, we can use it for good. So you don't age. I age myself with all this white coming in. I look at some of the early Ascension videos, and I was so crisp, but now I'm seasoned. I'm weathered.
Looking at all the Ascension Presents videos, right? You just slowly got more and more white hair, and your wife has stayed the exact same. So kudos to you, right?
We also, for anyone that knows House of Color, we did our colors this past year and a half, and it's kind of a silly thing, but it is eye-opening to see like my skin looks better in these colors versus these colors, and the sorting wheel chooses who it chooses. But then we look back at old videos and we're like, oh, that was totally not my color. What was I thinking? I look hideous.
Still trying to figure it out myself, but I have a bone to pick with you right off the bat, though, Bobby.
Let's go.
Because I purposely, funny, I almost called you Bobby Kennedy when I introduced you.
There's a Jackie and Bobby Kennedy.
There is. That's true. Hopefully, yeah. But I have a bone to pick with you because I purposely mentioned junior high, because I remember when I was first introduced to you, I think it was either junior high or high school, beginning of high school maybe. But my girlfriend at the time introduced me to you, and I very much disliked you guys. And I'll tell you why. Because you posted a video, and the video she showed me that introduced me to you guys was talking about chastity in relationships, right? A very needed discussion. But my girlfriend at the time sent it over to me, and she was obsessed with you guys. And she said, Bobby and Jackie Kennedy say that we can't be intimate. And I was like, oh, yeah, we're not being intimate. But what she thought intimate was any form of intimacy, right? So she was like, we can't hold hands, we can't like touch each other because that's too intimate and stuff like that. Not meaning the deeper meaning of intimacy. So my 14-year-old self was very much disliked you guys in the very beginning. So I will say. But...
tell me more. This is good. Get it out.
Yeah, this is a therapy session here.
I met a guy in Louisiana at a parish event, and he came up to me and said, this is like 0 to 60. He's like, I didn't like you at first. Nice to meet you too. And he said his fiance had made him watch. We did a series of NFP videos.
Yep.
And he was like, he wasn't on board at first. He was like, "What are you talking about?" And I don't like this guy. And eventually, in like a lot of prayer and in that process, came around to the church's teaching, and we had a warm conversation, this guy and I. But it started with, "I didn't like you at first."
How do
Great.
you
Okay.
handle that as a, because obviously, right, you're not backing down on what the church teaches, right? But you're also here to evangelize, not to make friends. How do you handle that in a I guess a public figure type role? Those type of interactions.
The blessing of being Catholic is that this is Jesus. This isn't Bobby. Like, you can get mad at me, you can get mad at the messenger, and I get that. So I mean, and this has also been like 20 plus years now of doing ministry and having these kinds of conversations and realizing there's always wounds, there's always stuff under the surface, there's things people are projecting or they're inviting you into. So
Right.
even if there's the crisp layer of frustration or anger or grief because of what's going on in their past or their current relationship, to receive that and kind of see it all as a ministry moment. And that's hard because sometimes it is, we can't help but take things personally. Um, but to know that Christ and his church are not out for our misery, this is for a flourishing life. And there's also people that walk away sad. So it's
Right.
also not on us to, you propose. John Paul II would say, "You propose, you don't impose."
Mm, for sure. For
Yeah.
sure. No, I love that. I love that. That's awesome. Man. It's I think it's definitely right. You hit the nail on the head in the fact of like, you know, we're not making the decisions here, right? We have the beauty of the catechism, right, and the apostolic word to be able to decipher for us, right, and we're just messengers in that
Well,
sense.
and two, I would say, well, show me a better way.
Fair.
I
Sure.
met a priest who, in a previous life, his testimony was, "I've tried every drug known to man. I've tried every substance. Show me something better,
Right.
because I've found the source in the summit. This is the best that there is." And that kind of like, yeah, there are crosses, there are totally challenges. It's not just about doing this right to appease my grandparents or doing this because the church says so. It's because Christ wants my freedom more than I do.
Mhm.
And John Paul II too, uh, second TOO too, also said,
Right.
um, there's probably no word that needs more rehabilitation in the 21st century than chastity.
Mm.
We've come to view it in such a repressive way. It's just a bunch of no's. It's a bunch of do not do this or do not do that. And to live it um, is hard, but it's life giving. It's the integration of body and soul, and um, we're called into that for our flourishing.
Right, right. No, I absolutely love that. That's awesome. We have a ton of questions piling up already, guys. Let's get those questions flowing, and we'll get started here. If one has a fairly poor track record with relationships, picking
Mhm.
the wrong man and accepting bad behavior, thinking immature, how soon should I convey this to a potential really good Mr. Right? Thank you. So a track record of subpar relationships. Very interesting.
Um, it doesn't need to be right out the get go because I think reading between the lines here, there's enough self awareness that you're aware of there's a pattern and are hopefully working on it and bringing it to prayer and accountability and hopefully watching out for the red flags the next go around.
Right.
So, assuming there's, you're entering into a healthier relationship, let it be for what it is at the start, getting to know the other person, and then I don't know, right time, right place to have that kind of conversation about what do our pasts entail, what baggage are we carrying. You can disclose some of that I haven't always picked the right guys, or I've allowed certain behaviors, and honestly, it doesn't need to go a ton deeper than that, especially at the beginning. Unless there is substantial stuff you feel you need to disclose, it is. I don't know. Feel free to disagree with me,
Yeah,
Tony,
no,
if and add anything to there. It just sounds like if you're working out with the Lord, like, yeah, you want to be honest and transparent in relationships, but um, get to know the other person there. You don't need to air all the dirty laundry on date number 1 and 2.
Right. No, exactly. I love that. Right. You're dating this person or this potential person, right? You're not dating your past relationships. And that's not to right undercut your past relationships, right? They're there for you to learn from, right? They're there for you to grow from, but at the same time, don't throw the baggage of your previous relationship, so to speak, onto this new person, right? Who has nothing to do with those. And I think there's, do you think it's like because I get this a lot where people, right, they want to air their dirty laundry per se, onto a potential partner really quickly on a relationship. Do you think, like, part of me thinks, okay, that's great, right? Get everything out in the open. That's wonderful. But at the same time, there's a delicate balance in order to not scare off the person, but B, to be emotionally chaste with your own self, right? So why do you think there's a deeper level of why we want to air out all the problems with ourselves with a potential spouse, like, right away? Or do you think it's like a defense mechanism, or what do you think?
Yeah, it could be a a lack of just kind of custody of there. Sometimes there's a desire to be transparent, but we err too far into the extreme. Where maybe again the person hasn't earned that right yet to know your whole story.
I like that.
Like, in time, yeah, but we can disclose that further down the road.
Right.
And maybe there again, there's just a desire to be seen for the pain we've held, and maybe even the guilt. And so again, there's a good desire at the bottom of I want this to get out there, but um, right time and place.
Right. And obviously, like, yeah, a desire to not want to have the same thing happen again, right? For sure. Yeah, no, I love this. I believe this is Felicitas. Welcome, Felicitas. Good to see you again. He says, a friend of mine said that the Bible was written by a bunch of guys back to 2,500 years ago or so. I think the Bible was written by Jesus, apostles, and inspired by the Holy Spirit. Also, prophets wrote some scripture inspired by Jesus. Please clarify. So I think, right, clarify, I think both, right, who the Bible was written by. Was obviously multiple authors, one ultimate author. But also, how would you combat this, right? If a friend comes to you and is like, right, written by a bunch of old guys 2,500 years ago, why should I, in the modern age, listen to this? I get this a lot when people ask me about Leviticus. But
Yeah, I mean, to play devil's advocate, it's also, well, why read anything that anyone dead wrote?
That's true.
Like, if we're gonna just kind of tease that out, like, is there no truth to be gleaned from this text that has inspired civilization after civilization? And it's funny enough, you've got like a secular psychotherapist, Jordan Peterson, popularizing the scriptures like no one else.
Right.
And it, like, you can, whether you believe it literally or not, at least take it seriously.
Mm-hmm.
So this is one of those I would tease out, does this friend actually want to learn?
Mm-hmm.
And if they do, send them to Catholic Answers, send them to some really reputable resources, send them to Trent Horn, send them to people that know their stuff left and right. If they're not actually wanting to learn, then the person's just out to pick a fight. And on our end, it's prayer and fasting for said person that they can be humble enough to open themselves to the truth, wanting to learn. So, for me, I lean back when I get these kinds of comments or engage in this stuff. For me, it's always a quick discernment of, is this person just a troll? Is their heart actually open to following the truth, or is it kind of just a dismissing of this tradition and this text and having to believe in commandments and having to believe in a God? Because then there's other stuff we're gonna have to deal with. And if we're just trying to fight at the surface level and show the scriptures are true, well, like, the person's not really that interested anyway. They're just trying to pick a fight. What do you think?
Yeah, no, I 100% understand. And this, obviously, as a history teacher, it gets me riled up. Why should we read something from 2,500 years ago, right? For the exact reason that it is 2,500 years old, but obviously beyond that, with the divinely inspiredness of it, right? And I think I think people, especially in the secular world, they diminish the physical attributes of the Bible because of its spirituality, right? In the sense of like they're saying, okay, this is the basis of the Christian religion. Therefore, if I'm not Christian, there is nothing I can glean from this. There is no moral truths I can get from this, and it's probably fake, right? Or something to that extent. We see this all the time with, you know, arguably the most proven ancient history fact we know is that Jesus is alive and that he rose from the dead, right? We look at, I mean, even look at, for example, Philip of Macedon, right? Alexander the Great's father. Almost secular and Catholic people alike believe, okay, he was a real person, right? We have two pieces of evidence to show that he ever existed ever in human history, right? We have like hundreds, I think what the number is like 147 written articles or something about the resurrection of Christ, let alone his life, right? And so believe it as history at least first, right? And then from there, you will see the divinely inspired nature of it, I think, right?
I mean, that's something we could spend the rest of the webinar talking about. So I'm gonna hold it for there.
That's fair. That's fair. Yeah, that's the problem with these things is you get down so many rabbit holes. All right, this one is anonymous. Do you have any advice, especially for women, okay, who are just starting to date? I'm trying not to place all of my future happiness on the hope of having a fulfilled relationship and place it on God instead. But it is more difficult than I thought. So what is a good starting place for starting to date, right? What's a good mentality for trusting in the Lord and preparing yourself for dating?
You guys could have a drinking game of how many times I bring up John Paul II, but his teaching was so formative for my wife and I. And I mean, we met at a retreat based like on the Theology of the Body Institute. So his take on human sexuality and the embodiment of us as male and female is such a gift to the church, and it's such a gift to a generation that really needed what was already there but framed in a new way. In our humanity, we're gonna get excited, we're gonna get the butterflies, we're gonna get amped up about a date. And even John Paul II said this is good, this is the raw material of love. It's not mature love yet. It's not that agape level love, but it is the starting embers that is not bad. So yes, like intellectually, I can know only God will satisfy me. Only in him can I truly worship. I cannot worship another human being, no matter how good and holy they might be. Be patient and compassionate on yourself in the process. The challenge is keeping one foot on land and another foot on the shore, like one foot anchored in the fact that God, only you are God, only you can satisfy the deepest longings of my heart. Help me not to make an idol of any relationship, while also putting your other foot, like have one foot on land, have another foot in the water, and the experience of what it feels like to be in relationship with this person, to be on the date with this person, to enjoy the time and enjoy the conversation, to enjoy, the chaste physicality that can ensue, and just the body language and the delight of it all. Like, it is so good. We're meant to enjoy in that. And it is, it's okay if the boat rocks here and there, if there's a bit of a, like the scales, we recalibrate as we go.
No, for sure. I think I would say the number one, especially with online dating, in this new world, right, of online dating, is I think I saw a study that as of 2024, the 2024 marked the first year that more couples met online than did not meet online.
Wow.
In 2024, because we're living in a completely new age when it comes to relationships, right? In that sense, I met my wife. I did not meet my wife online. I met her at university. But for so many people, right, this is a normal experience, right? This is a universal experience, and it's good that you are here, right? Is something very important. And I'll echo, right, what Bobby said is patience, man, patience. My sister, for example, she met her husband on Catholic Match after being on Catholic Match for 4 years, and that's when she met him. And her husband matched with my sister on the first day he signed up. It's the first person he matched with, right? So it can be such a variety of ways, and just trust in the Lord, trust in His will for you, and right, have patience, right? We are not on our time; we're on God's time.
Which is trite, but so true.
Yeah.
And some days we get it, and I can surrender is easy, and some days it is like, can you hurry up? Like, I'm showing up, I'm doing everything right, and where are you? And that is okay too, to feel the frustration.
Yep. Love that. Get a little political here, I believe.
Oh, joy.
Always love it. I am all for legal immigration, but I have a hard time with people who have come here illegally and the politicians who encourage it. I know they're all created by God, but can I learn how to hate the sin, but love the sinner better? I'll focus on the second half of that for us, because I think that's a little more
Universal.
prevalent. Yeah, to the conversation here, a little more universal is right. How can we love the sinner but hate the sin better, right? And this can be right with anything. This can be with abortion, right? This can be with LGBTQ, right? This can be with migrants, as the person asked, right? It can be for anything. But how do we practice, right? Because you have to practice. How do we practice the virtue of loving the sinner, right?
I think, again, the self-awareness of searching my own heart, and I just had a Darth Vader image in my head: search your feelings, you know it to be true. Just to search your heart and to be aware of, like, okay, I bear some animosity towards this person, this political party, these politicians. What's going on there? What's going on underneath that? What is fanning the flame there? That might not be there for other issues or other politicians or other people in my life. So to be aware of, like, okay, to be curious, what's rubbing me the wrong way here about this would be step one. And then to be Catholic, it's love and truth. So it's not just let's water everything down, all is love. It's also not this hard and fast, just what is true, wielding it like a hammer without any kind of empathy or compassion. And to love is to will the good of the other. So what is the good of the other person? What is the good of my state, my country? And those are hard questions. And even the church gives us a bit of the both and of, a country has the right to establish its borders and to maintain control of it as a country. And yet also people have a right to migrate and to move and to seek out other opportunities. So to pray for ourselves in our own always deepening conversion, to pray for the people we're experiencing animosity towards. And outside of that, then it comes down to, like, well, what can I actually do or control in my 10-mile radius? It's so easy to spin on the news and what the news tells us to spin about. And sometimes the best thing is just turn it off. And how can I be the hands and feet in my network? And it's not to say live in ignorance, but it is that, where can I actually make a difference?
Right. Yep. The principle of subsidiarity, right? Yep. You're focusing on focus on yourself first and your local community before you fix the world, right? I think it's, again, going back to like this age of technology, right? I'm really excited for Pope Leo to start addressing that with this second industrial revolution. But I think it's so we have more access to more information than ever before in human history, right? At the tip of our fingers, right? And there's amazing parts of it, hence the fact that we're all here. And there's downfalls to it, right? But I think, I can't remember the Bible quote, but somewhere, I believe Corinthians, Paul says, "Let nothing rob you of your joy," right? And to understand that, right, the fight is already won. Right? And I'm not talking the political fight or anything like that, right? The fight for salvation is already won, right? And so whatever political issues or personal issues you have, right? There's nothing should rob you of your joy, right? In that. And so I think it's very easy to get caught up in, like you said, what they want you to get caught up in, right? But just as a Catholic, we have this amazing gift of not being of this world. Like everyone's not of this world, but being told and truly believing that we are not of this world. Are we in this world, but not of this world? But so yeah, no.
Yeah, and of course there are bad actors, and there are people trying to game a system, and there are politicians that. And here's too, it's like, where am I experiencing animosity? How can I pray for conversion?
Hmm.
No one is ever too far gone, and so even the politician that drives us the most crazy, Lord, you take them,
Yeah.
get their heart, and so I can also release that from the baggage I'm carrying. Jesus says the day has enough evils for itself.
For sure. This one, I am so frustrated, would like your assessment of what I am doing wrong. I am brilliant, beautiful, and alone. I am kind always, but I'm having a hard time finding my male equivalent. Met predators, sex offenders, or jerks who disappeared after one date, right? So how do you console, I guess, right? Is the first thing, right? But how would you handle this, right? The frustration of the modern dating world, right?
Yeah. As you said, in terms of consolation, it is awful to extend yourself in relationship and be met with duplicity and someone that just wants to use or manipulate, and it can lead to that very valid experience of wanting to just peace out and I'm done with this and why bother trying. um, so first of all, that to be aware of, like, yeah, the pain you're experiencing, and anyone that is watching this now or at a later time, it's valid. Like, no one can invalidate that, or even if it's been dismissed or just shrugged away, it's like your feelings are there. And even to be aware of where, so Dr. Bob Schutz, some of you might know from the what's the Restore the Glory podcast. He and Jay Kim written a lot of great books. His Healing the Whole Person retreats are fantastic. He talks a lot about, like, where are there footholds? So where are there places in my life where I feel like a certain narrative has dug in? And maybe that is hopelessness. Maybe that is fear or shame. And so in the face of these disappointments, one after another, to take that pain to the cross, first of all, take that pain to Jesus, who knows that pain and wants to be with you in it, isn't a miracle cure, but he's there with you in it. And then to ask for the grace to know, like, is there, help me see what I'm not seeing. Is there a type of person that I am continuing to pursue or look for that is getting me into trouble? Um, is there a sense of hopelessness that is latching on or that is burrowing in, that is leading me to a place where I don't feel like it's going to get better or that it can't get better? Tony, what do you think?
Yeah, it's right. The only thing I'm thinking is, right, you're not alone, right? And your frustration is not alone, right? And it is, right. It's the hardest thing in the world to do, especially after failed attempt and failed attempt and failed attempt, right? To persevere, right? And to trust in the Lord, right? But it's, yeah, you got to do it, right? It's we have no other choice, right? But to trust in the Lord. Yeah,
There's two things. One, Jackie's met girls in her journey that they have a type.
Sure.
They want the 6'5" doctor who makes X amount of money and whatever, and like all those things come first before just being open to what the Lord is putting in front of them. And I'm not saying that's this person's, that's how they're approaching it, but just for anyone who's listening, sometimes we get hung up on what I think is going to be best, and then we're trying to fit a square peg in a round hole,
right?
And realize maybe what I need to be looking for is the character and the virtues of the person, and surrender my ideal to what God wants and his time.
Yeah.
That's one thing. You can tell me what you think about that. The second thing is, you said, like, what's the alternative to not putting yourself out there again? It's like, well, C.S. Lewis wrote, you put your heart in a box and you lock it away and you put it in a coffin where it's going to be safe and no one's ever going to hurt it again. Don't give it to anyone. Don't even give it to an animal. And you'll be safe. You won't be hurt again, but your heart will grow cold.
Right.
But sometimes, because of the hurts we've experienced, that's what we want to do. We just want to put our heart in a casket and lock it away. And it's one of the hardest things, again, to put myself back out there.
Right. Yeah, no, I think that's beautifully said. I'll respond to the first one here as well, right? Is like the physical attributes, right? It's something that, like, we're all accustomed to, right? We all have preferences on everything, and not just physical preferences, right? Personality preferences, likes and dislikes, right? But especially with the physical, things change, right? Height shrinks almost universally, right? If you're dating someone and they grow, you should probably ask some questions, or at least not from side to side, I guess. But right, people change, right? Things change, personalities change, right? And so it's important to first understand who the person is rather than what they look like, as an important thing. I know, me personally, I've been married 10 months. I've gained 15 pounds since I got married. So it's, you never know. But I'm sorry, we skipped a question here, Andy. If you want to put that question up, here it is from John. Tell the missus thank you for the video on how to date as a Catholic. It served me very well. How do I balance my desire and preparation for a spouse against the areas in my life I know I still need to grow? I don't want to waste opportunities. Great question.
The older I get, the more I realize how time is one of the most precious resources at all. How do we spend our time? And so it is a balance of being open to where the Lord is guiding, and putting yourself out there and looking for the signs of where a potential spouse may be, but to also not pine away and lose this time you're not going to get back. Every season has its freedoms and its crosses, like its blessings and its heaviness. And I mean, I have no desire to go backwards in time. I think if you're doing it right, every season should get a little bit better, even if it looks different, even if there's been curveballs along the way. There's always a sadness when you see someone that wants to go back to the glory days of high school football, or like, oh, in college, I was the happiest I've ever was in college, and everything since has just been downhill. It's like, that's tragic. And there's what's going on under the surface that is leading you to feel that. To like the blessings of marriage, new marriage, of almost 12 years married, 5 kids, 5 on earth, 3 in heaven. The insanity of toddlerdom that I'm living in, along with just the coolness of like having a 10-year-old and a 9-year-old who can beat me in Mario Kart, and I don't take it easy on them. Like, I have a whole lot less time to read. I have a whole lot less time to study, but life, like those are my priorities at the moment. Whereas, as you're awaiting a spouse, it's also that time to grow your skill set and put that time into any kind of goals you have, like fitness or exercise or 5Ks or traveling and study and prayer. And it's the cheesy, but it's true. It's like, if you want to marry, you got to be a Joseph, and vice versa. So my character, my virtue, how am I investing in friendships there? And it's not wasted time. It can feel like I'm kicking the can as I wait for the right person or my spouse, but it's like a fine wine, and the Lord knows when it's the right time to bring the bottles together. And for us, it's just help me show up in the day that I have, in the 24 hours that I'm given, and ask the Lord to bless it.
Yeah, no, I love that. I love, like the talk of priorities, right, is such a big. How would you? Because I think it's interesting, right, where we're talking about time and learning what is worth your time in life, right? And that changes throughout. But curious, pairing a couple of these questions together, right? How would you say, like, how could you keep, right, a dating life up, right? It takes a lot of time, a lot of effort, right? how can you keep looking for that spouse while also the quote unquote wasting time, right, of the rejection after rejection, right, especially in this modern dating world and everything like that.
I think you can't give what you don't have. So there's also the sense of, am I taking care of myself? Like, do I put my mask on before helping others, so that it's not just this like putting myself out there again and again, but it's more a rote thing. It's more just to do it. It's become a job. It's become something that's work. It's like, well, then you're not at your best and you're not putting out your best. Are you taking care of yourself? Like nutrition, sleep, prayer, play. Like when our tank is filled, we're gonna put the best of ourselves out there. And there's a lot of talk of self-care, and I think there's a selfishness to some of it. There's a self-indulgence to some of it. But if we're looking at it as self-stewardship, like we're embodied souls. So am I respecting my body? Like I have to love others as I love myself. Do I love myself?
Mhm.
Is there a part of me that kind of hates myself or is super critical of myself? Is there a part of me that thinks I will only be happy when I get a spouse or I get to that next step? So it comes back to that grass isn't greener on the other side. The grass is greener where you water it.
For sure. For sure. I love that. When do you start talking about financial matters with your boyfriend? This is an interesting one. I'll pair this. So after we talk about this, there's another financial question that's getting a lot of upvotes right now as well. So we'll start with this and kind of shift towards finances in a relationship here a little bit. But when is a good time to start talking about finances in a relationship?
Date 2.5 would be great. So there is no hard and fast rule, I will say. I think in terms of like getting to know the person, you can share like framing it as, are you more of a spender or are you a saver?
Sure.
Because you do want to know like, what am I walking into? And so I would say, as you discern to go exclusive, like we're not going to date anyone else. We're going to do this more intentionally. That's when you can start asking questions about, yeah, saving and spending and lifestyle and investing, and not in a way of prying, but in a genuine way of, if we're dating, not to just date, but to discern a life together in marriage. These are important facets to the question. Is the person in substantial debt or not?
Right.
Are they bouncing from job to job or holding down something significant? So not the early dates, but I think once you're exclusive and you're going deeper into that intimacy, it's part of it, because we all have, it's a loaded topic because we all have a different relationship to money.
Hmm.
And that can speak to a lot of different wounds and stuff.
Right. No, I love it. And I think there's different stages of how in depth you should be as well, right? Where maybe introducing it, right, when you first become a couple and you're first becoming exclusive, but also, right, you're not delving into, hey, I'm investing in this and this and this and whatnot, and this is what my 401k plan looks like necessarily, but you're slowly progressing as the relationship progresses, as you grow as a couple, so should your conversations about everything, right, not just
Right.
finance but about everything, right? So it's a natural progression. This was the other question that was getting a lot of upvotes, that I'm curious about. It's from anonymous, but is it against the church to not combine finances? I understand not having a prenup, but I don't understand why everyone says you need to combine finances in marriage. This is an interesting one, that a lot of people were having questions about in the chat here. So
Yeah, and I'm happy we got to it. Yeah, we're not on board with a prenup because that's essentially saying we're chancing in divorce,
right.
which we're not, about in the Catholic Church. It's like it's the free, total, faithful, fruitful. It's like we're faithful to the end, and finances being a part of it. And now, yeah, there's no church teaching on thou shalt combine finances. You shall combine bank accounts. The way my wife and I have handled this before is, um, it comes down to transparency.
Mm.
Like it's not the case that we have to all of a sudden have one bank account. It's more, are we hiding anything? Is there a sense of, I don't trust the other person? Or again, it could be like, there's under the surface attitude of just in case. Let me keep my money just in case something does go wrong or something, whatever. So, which could be an indication of a lack of trust in the relationship or a lack of trust in God. And I've had to wrestle with this too. My Jackie is so childlike. She is so childlike in her faith and her trust that God is going to provide. I inherited the worrier sensibility from my mom of
You and me
what if,
both.
yeah, like what if God doesn't come through? And so there's the element of being a provider
Right.
and keeping a tab on the finances, which is responsible. But then they could also slip into, well, I don't totally trust God, which is again, it's sneaky. Like we're not consciously thinking it, but that's, well, don't touch my bank account, Lord. So in terms of relationship and marriage, correct. It's not that you have to have one bank account.
Right.
Is more like, again, Jackie and I have, I think, 2 or 3 across like 3 different banks, and one like personal, and like our business one. But we each have access to all of it, so we can just see and tab and move stuff as needed. So it's not this like I'm hiding or she's hiding from me, because then that raises other questions too.
Right.
Well, what would you say to that, Tony?
Yeah, I think it's an interesting question, and I agree. Right, it's the church does not say you must combine finances necessarily, right? The church does say love one another, right? And part of love is being open and honest, right, with one another and being transparent. I know in my relationship, right, one of us is the spender, right, one of us is the saver. I bet you can guess who's the spender. But it's important to be able to combining the finances, right, can mean a lot of different things
Right.
when it comes down to it. And I think the most important thing is the transparency with it. I'm curious what you think about this, because I recently came across a couple who does this, and I'm curious your take on it. They combine finances, right, and then they have their main pot of money, we'll say, right, is one finance, right, and then they have separate bank accounts with a little bit of money on it that it's hers and his, right, with it. What would you I me personally, I think, right, for me, I'm total transparency. For me, I'm like, that's just asking for a disaster. But I'm curious what your thoughts are on something like that.
Again, there's not a one size fits all, and for me, it's transparency. So, like,
Yeah.
could I ask at least how much is in there? Could my wife see what's in there?
Sure.
I think you could rationalize it that, well, how am I supposed to surprise my wife with anything if I don't have some money on the side? But I think that doesn't totally hold water at the end of the day to justify keeping a whole other bank account. I think if we are compulsively latched onto money, it can be an exercise in freedom to say, here's where the big pot is for mortgage, for rent, for car payments, for whatever we need. Like that is here.
Hmm.
But then if you want to splurge on, new speakers for your garage gym because the Creed just doesn't blast loud enough, you can go for it. If you want to do, get your hair done for an amount that costs 6 times what I would do for my hair, I want you to be happy. So sometimes it male to female, or just even our approach to finances, if we are more spender or saver, things like that can release it a bit, because we can't serve both God and mammon.
Right.
And again, our attitude towards money says more about us than we realize.
Hmm.
It can say a lot about my level of trust in God or not. So I think it's just a communication. Like people say that money is one of the biggest fights around divorce that lead to divorce. It's really like communication,
Yeah.
and then money, it's all tied together. So you'll have to talk about it at some point.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think, yeah, finances, right, never broke up any relationship. What breaks it up is miscommunication or mistrust about finances, right?
Yep.
Yeah, no, for sure. This one comes from Michaela. I think that's how you pronounce it. Yeah, Michaela, from Texas. There you go. Ways to cultivate patience and recover emotionally when it seems like you just keep meeting people who you don't click with, right? So again, that frustration aspect talking about.
And my wife would say, God won't show you gold and give you silver.
That's a great line.
It's that timetable thing of it's not our time, it's God's time. And in the stretch, is the ache, is the cross, is the pain of like, I want this next stage. I want this new season where there either can be purpose and I can have someone I can run the race with.
Mm.
And to realize and to remember, even the Lord knows our hearts better than we do. And you bet it's frustrating to meet good person or looks great on paper or otherwise it would make sense, but it didn't pan out. It didn't go to fruition. And the very real human pain and experience of either getting jaded or cynical or wanting to give up. And but to trust that God, you know my heart better than I do. Help me to trust in your timetable. And I have found, and even in my own life, it tends to happen when you're not looking for it, when you're not expecting it, when you're not trying to go on every retreat or every event and say, it's my spouse here, it's my spouse here, it's my spouse here. Like when you just chill. And as I said earlier, invest in yourself, be yourself, just show up. God, like in my own life, it was really when I got to that point where I said, God, I'm just going to go on this retreat. And I'm not going to be looking around the room and wondering if she's here, looking at every female that is breathing and under the age of 60. Like maybe, like when I just let go, when I just surrender. And it was almost like God just like, okay, finally, now we can get to work. And there was, again, years of prayer, consolations, desolations, failures, mistakes, working on myself, kicking and screaming at times. It was really when there was the right time and Jackie and I re-met each other, it really was as if the scales fell from my eyes. And I was like, holy crap, like that's my wife. And thankfully it was reciprocated. She felt it too. Because we had met a year and a half earlier, but it wasn't there. And again, the fine wine metaphor, God knows the right time and the struggle to stay hopeful and endure in the interim.
Yeah. I think that's I would say almost especially hard for men to trust in the Lord and wait that right the perfect person will show up, because the fact of like, right, we're the pursuers, right, we're always want to find the right one necessarily, right, and to be able to step back and be like, Lord, you take control, you place the person in my life. But I 100% agree, right, with that statement of generally, right, when you're not looking is when you will find the one, right, and when you give yourself to the Lord and say, Lord, my life is yours, right, is when he will generally be able to give yourself. Because I remember there's a saying that my spiritual director said he said, no one can work with hardened clay, right? No one can shape hardened clay, right? All you can do is break it, right? And so once you release, right, once you let yourself go to the Lord's ultimate plan, right, then you can be able to be molded and formed into what you're ultimately destined to be. So yeah, definitely.
Mary's receptivity is not passive. So I think even for the men listening, you think about Mary, be it done unto me according to thy will. That's not just a passive, like, whatever, I'm going to give up. It's like, no, there's an activeness there.
Yeah.
That you're still showing up, but you are just surrendering control.
I love that. That's a good distinction for sure. This question, Josh from Michigan. Welcome, my fellow Michigander. What are ways we can make dating or discerning marriage more of a fun process rather than a serious process? I love this question. That causes us to overthink or question our beliefs unhealthily. Absolutely love this, right? How do you make dating fun?
Oh, I don't know if I'm the right guy for this because I'm the philosopher in the relationship. Jackie's the one that's like, we haven't been bowling in a while. Or when we moved to Texas, we went axe throwing, which is like bowling, but feels more practical.
Yep.
Like this would serve me well for the end times. Yeah, it can get heavy, especially as Catholics, that we have such rich theology and deep teachings of church fathers and the weightiness of vocation. And sometimes we just need to remind ourselves to have fun. it shouldn't be this agonizing. Like I treated vocation like a magic 8 ball more times than or a Rubik's cube more times than I can count.
Yep. Yep.
And again, the surrender and just the letting go is like, Lord, you call us to play and have fun. And for you, maybe that's puzzles, that's word with friends, which is also a good way to make enemies. It's like New York time puzzles, it's hiking or enjoying movies or Smash Brothers, or I've met so many different couples. It's beautiful, like what recreation and leisure looks like. Because there too, it's like you're getting to know the other person in the context of play and exploration. So just it's okay to take a step back. It's okay to have fun.
Right.
In fact, I think it's necessary for a thriving relationship to also realize, how does this person play? How do they have fun? I went on one date with another melancholic years ago, and it's like, do you want to go to a bookstore together and just read separately? She's like, yeah. And it was great. It was great. We both had a great time. But
as a sanguine, I hate that so much. But...
Well, that's what I'm like. This probably isn't going to work out long term. So I think I need someone the opposite of me.
That's funny. That's funny. Yeah, no, I love that. And also, right, just get to know what the person likes, right? And it doesn't necessarily, I mean, to the opposite of what I literally just said, right? It doesn't necessarily have to be what you like as well, right? Be open to trying new things, right? And ultimately, right, if you're with the person you are meant to be with, right, life will throw you curveballs enough where, trust me, it'll be interesting enough. Now, obviously, it doesn't say you don't have to work for it. You don't have to continue progressing the relationship and work to have fun. It's a weird thing, right? But I know so many couples have scheduled fun, right? Because it becomes so monotonous sometimes in life. And I guess that's, for me, less so. It's coming from a person who's been married for less than a year, so I guess I don't have personal experience of it as much. But yeah, it's getting to know the other person, right? Their likes and their dislikes. Yeah, absolutely. We'll go one more question here because I want to respect everyone's time. We'll go one question here. So Annie, pick a good one here, and then we'll get wrapping up.
Come on, Annie.
Here we go.
All right.
I'm conflicted on what I should do. That's always a good start, right? Hopefully we can help you out. I'm drawn to and admire the priesthood and religious life, but I feel that I'm running away from my problems with dating. I don't want to waste time if it's not for me. How do I deal with this? Great question.
I think you should pick up Pray, Decide, and Don't Worry by Jackie and Bobby Angel and Father Mike Schmitz from Ascension Press, $14.95. Shameless plug. I did also just write, this is coming out soon, a book on Pier Giorgio Frassati with Ave Maria Press. And a young guy who was also kind of on the fence vocationally, but is about to be a saint, and did a little 8-day do-it-yourself retreat with him. So that's the Frassati Field Guide. It's the key was in the question was running away from dating. So I think you can admire the priesthood. It doesn't mean you're called to it. I think it's important to, if there's an inkling, ask questions, talk to priests, go on a come and see at a seminary or a religious house, but be honest with yourself. Am I running away? Is there a part of me that's been hurt by what I've seen in marriage and dating? Am I afraid of getting rejected? And like, to be honest there and ask for a spiritual director or mentor to walk with you. Another shameless plug as we wind up our time here is that I've been trained by the Catholic Psych Institute, Dr. Greg Bottaro and his team, and I mentor people from around the world. And if you go to our website, jackieandbobby.com, there's a mentorship tab, which gives you more info on what that looks like. But like the vocation thing is near and dear to my heart because I wrestled with the priesthood for many years. I was in seminary for 3 years. And God's call is so unique to all of us. And yet I also know, I'll end with this. When Jackie and I were together, I met a girl, an old friend, we re-met, and she said, do you think you mistook the call to holiness with the call to holy orders? And I said, no. I've met guys who thought, in order to be a good and holy man, I have to be a priest. Like that wasn't me, in all honesty. I really felt the Lord Jesus beckoning me to follow him into the journey of the priesthood. There was the friendships I made, the formation I got. If I'm at all a decent evangelist. If any videos have made sense on YouTube, I credit it to getting my butt kicked in the seminary, and what the Lord did in me and through my formators in those years. But I knew also, like, I think I'm just built for marriage. I think that's where I'm going to be the man I'm called to be, where I'm going to get pulled out of myself, especially in fatherhood. Like, they are little saint makers, these children are. So again, to be aware of, like, we need good and holy men and women in the lay and married vocations. It's the same stuff. Like, the best this was also said to me years ago, the best priests in the world would have made awesome dads. The best dads in the world would have made awesome priests, because it's the same stuff. Like, can I be generous? Can I get over myself? Can I serve? Can I do it in joy? And so wherever the Lord is calling you, be not afraid. You know, one last
there we go.
shot for anyone keeping tally. Be not afraid. The Lord has great plans for us, plans for our welfare, not our woe.
Amen. I love it. That's a great way to end. Bobby, thank you so much for your wisdom. And again, you can find him on Ascension Presents on BobbyandJackie.com. Is that what it is?
The wife goes first. Jackie and Bobby.
JackieandBobby.com. Check out his books. Anything else? Anywhere else they can find you?
No, it's been an honor. Thank you for this apostolate and what you guys do. And Jackie and I will be keeping you all in prayer if you're watching live or recording at a later time.
Yes. Awesome. Thank you, Bobby. Great.